was a very kind introduction. I will have to take exception in that I, as many of you know, am not special. I may have been given certain gifts that help me in politics, but God gives everybody certain gifts, and then they either use them or don't use them. And I'd like to think that I've used mine. We'll see as time goes by, and I hope that I am serving His purpose. That being said, let's talk about campaigning. Folks, I have to tell you that campaigning and winning is somewhat about timing, but there are three factors that I think are the core to winning political elections. Number one, and these are not in any particular order, it's just the order I'm taking them in, is money. If you don't have people who are willing to come to the plate and bring their cash and their hard-earned money to the table to help you in the campaign, no matter how good your candidate is, no matter how hard that candidate works, they cannot win. So for your candidates running this year, and I've got the address right here where you can send the money, there's a card on the back table. Do what you can to help, if I may, Bill, actually, do what you can to help with money, because there's no campaign that can run without it, and it's important. And I was very blessed to have people who came on early, some who came on in the middle, and some who came on towards the end. But I was very blessed to have the money to get our message out, because that's extremely important. Second factor I would tell you about is sweat. And it doesn't go without saying that no matter how much money you have, if you don't have both a candidate and a core group of people who are willing to invest their energy and their sweat in a campaign, you cannot win a campaign. You have to be at every little thing you can get to. You have to get to such a point, Bill, that you get confused as to where you are. Just don't say it on air. It can always get you in trouble. But just keep working, get to as many events as you possibly can get to. People like to touch the candidate. They like to talk to their candidate. They like to see other people working for that candidate. So if you have a booth at the fair, don't ever let it go without. In fact, my political person that was thought originally to be here tonight realized we had a hole at the Salem Fair. She's at the Salem Fair, because if I can't be there, we need to have people there, even when I'm not campaigning actively, to let people know that we are still around and that we still care about them and that we want to hear their issues and their concerns. It's extremely important. And there's a huge number of votes. I call it the double yes rule. There's a huge number of votes that if you ask them to vote for you or you give them a reason to vote for you and they say yes, sometimes they'll change their minds. But if you get them to say yes twice, whether because they've met the candidate or they've gone to some function or fair or street festival or something, or even a TV ad or a radio ad, and they say yes twice, they'll stick with you through thick and thin. And you've got to do it before, as much as you can, before October 15th. Because in the last 2 weeks, all kinds of things will be said about your candidate across the board, whether it's Bill this year or somebody next year, in whatever race that you have. The last 2 weeks, all kinds of crazy things happen. If you've got the double yes before that, they will stay with you. They'll say, I've met that guy, or I talked to somebody in my community that I respect, and they said that's not accurate. That's not the person that I see. And an example that was brought with great relish by Mary Stafford, who's my political director in the district, and my wife, Hillary, who I couldn't do this without her taking care of Abby Davis and starting my three children who were 11, 5, and 3. They brought it to me this week because I have been insisting that I couldn't be at home on July the 4th in the evening because I had to go to Saltville, Virginia, because I went last year to Saltville, Virginia on the 4th of July and saw Mel Tillis. So they were delighted to bring me the announcement of Mel Tillis being in Saltville, Virginia, and he was there on Labor Day. But I would have sworn it was the 4th of July. And that's how you know you've got a candidate who's out there working, because I didn't know the difference between the 4th of July by the time the campaign was over and Labor Day, because I had been out there getting that sweat. And last but not least, and I think sometimes, and I've seen a lot of elections, I think this last one may be the most important. It's not only faith in your maker, but it's belief in your campaign. And belief that you you got into this campaign because you could win. And again, when I say that, I'm not just talking to your candidate. I'm talking to everybody in the party. And it was one of the big advantages we had in the 9th District that I don't think anybody recognized until late in the campaign, is that I had folks like Tucker and Leisha and all the folks who are in the back of the room I can't see, Michelle and others, who never lost sight of the belief in the campaign. I continued to work. We went around the last the last week of the campaign, and I said to them, guys, this is going to be a close election. I did this in probably about 20 different jurisdictions. But you have to get out there. It's brings in the sweat part. We're close. We can win this race. But it's going to take every one of you talking to somebody and talking to 2 or 3 people that you don't know every day. And then I need you to polls. Because there will be people who will walk in there who they've got a good idea what they're going to do, but when they walk in the polls, they may change their minds. We can pick up just enough votes on election day that we may make a difference. And I told them a story about when I was a young volunteer. We had just had a flood in the Roanoke Valley, flood of 1985, and the election came like 2 days after the flood. And there I was at 6:45 at night. The polls in Virginia closed at 7. And there hadn't been anybody for 20 minutes, but I wasn't going to abandon my post. And all of a sudden, here come the headlights into the parking lot. Car reaches up to where I was, said, "Where do I go in to vote?" And I almost forgot. It's important. And I said, "Right in there, and here's a list of candidates I'm supporting." The guy goes in, he comes out after he's voted, he says, "You know, I got in there and I knew it was important to vote. I knew these were important elections, but my mind has been on the flood, and I really didn't stop to think about who I was going to vote for. And then I said to myself, you know, if that guy can stand out here in the cold at 6:45 in the dark for these candidates, they must be worth something." And so don't ever give up that continued work, and that is a sign of your belief in the campaign. My wife didn't think we were going to win. She started thinking the night of the election that they got the numbers backwards, that something must be wrong. And the reason was the polling data. Where are you in the polls? Who knows? You're looking good. We were 17 points down according to our polls the 1st of October. Our polls still had us down about 12 points 2 weeks out. But we knew that if we could continue to hammer our message and continue to work to the very end, that 6:45 example, we knew that there were a lot of votes out there that were not solid votes for my opponent, that there were a lot of questions. And so we continued to work. And there should still be a lot of questions. I bring my smartphone with me because I like to read emails when I'm getting it here or there. And today I received an email. This will probably get out and I won't be on the list anymore. But I'm on the Democratic Congressional Committee email list. Things happen. And today I received an email, and I think this is true for gubernatorial races. It's also true for congressional, or clearly true for congressional races. It's true for your races in the House of Delegates and the Senate. And this is where some of the folks in West Virginia need to be reminded of what's going on at the national level. Steve Israel writes me today, President Obama's agenda depends on a Democratic House majority. A Democratic House majority depends on the support of people like you. Now is the time to act. He's asking me to send money. I don't know how they got my name. I've never contributed with that. I have to get their emails. But the bottom line is that the president's agenda against Appalachian coal and coal in general, the president's agenda, which is crippling our economy with overregulation, the president's agenda to change America into something that we might not recognize, the president's agenda to raise taxes. Now, he talks about it just being on the billionaires and so forth, but his agenda to raise taxes, always, whenever you raise taxes, you either chase jobs off or it trickles down to the average citizen. And the president's agenda cannot go forward unless they have the money to win elections, unless they have the sweat to win elections.